Hey you guys, it's Brett. I wanted to go over something that comes up in our office. It comes up maybe a few times a year, and it's a little tricky. And I just wanted to go over it and show you how to approach it. But uh, when you buy a house from a relative, typically what happens is it's a mom and dad, and they're maybe wanting to downsize or something, and they want to do something nice for one of their kids, so they're giving them a really good deal on the house. So you can structure these transactions so it's good for both sides, and the person buying the house really doesn't have to come out of pocket with any money, even though there's a down payment. So the one of the things you can do in a situation where you're buying a house from a relative is the seller, your mom or dad or whomever, can give the down payment to the buyer in terms of a gift of equity. And you can't do that on a normal transaction. So let's start in here, and I'll just go through it. Okay, I just explained that. And that's really the one huge difference. In a normal purchase transaction, the seller cannot give the buyer the down payment. But when you're buying it from a family member, if the family member is living in the house that's selling it, they can give you the equity for the down payment. So let's just use an example of $200,000 sales price with a 5% down payment. 5% is a normal, conventional down payment. So that's $10,000. And the seller in this example would do a gift of equity for $10,000. So the general idea behind a transaction like this is to identify the walkaway number for the seller. So you just ask mom or dad or whomever, hey, when all this is said and done, what would you like to walk away from this transaction with? So let's just go through it. And then I'll show you how we calculate it. So this walkaway number, let's just call it X. And this, let's assume, like I said, the mom or dad are wanting to do everything nice and on the behalf of the buyer that they can. So they want to pay as much of the costs for the buyer as they can. So the next thing you need to do is just to go through and put numbers next to certain items like the seller's closing costs, the buyer's closing costs, the down payment we already know. So let's just go through here. And then I'll show you how I kind of arrived at these numbers. Let me bring up. So this is just a fee worksheet example in our loan origination software. You've got a loan amount at 190 because the sales price is 200 minus the $10,000 down payment. These are some mortgage fees here. Appraisal. These are just normal closing costs that you would have, during the course of a loan. These are title fees here, estimated, including the title policy. In the state of Texas, our state dictates to title companies what they can charge for their title insurance. But the fees are up to the title company. So I'm just kind of estimating fees here. Assuming we need a survey. And then you have your prepaids, which is, I'm just going to estimate the homeowner's insurance is $100 a month. Let's say they shopped around and that's what they found. So when you buy a house, as a buyer, you have to pay for your homeowner's insurance up front 1 year, and then you have to pre-fund an escrow account, assuming you have an escrow account. You have to pre-fund that with usually 2 or 3 months of insurance and then around 3 months of taxes. Now, at the time I'm making this video, it's approaching the end of August. So we would ultimately, the seller would be responsible for the taxes from January the 1st through the day you close. Let's say it's whatever, end of August, early September. So that would be an aggregate of about 10 months of taxes collected. So you have the buyer bringing 3 months, and then you have the seller crediting them on the closing disclosure 7 months. But since we are trying to, I'll just do it in this format, it's easier. So to approximate the seller's costs, there's really not a lot to a seller's costs. The big one is title insurance under normal circumstances. In Texas right now, it's a weird market. It's a heavy seller's market. So you see a lot of contracts where the seller is asking the buyer to pay the title policy. But that's not normal. In a normal market, the seller is paying the title policy. So down here at the bottom, I gave them credit back. Even though I quoted as a cost, I'm giving them credit for the seller paying that. So that's $14.94. And then I added also about 7 months of taxes. And then I added a few more $100 just for good measure, and it ended up being about $42.18, all those numbers. Title policy, taxes for credit, and just miscellaneous closing fees, a few $100. Buyer's closing costs. On a conventional loan, when you are putting down less than 10%, the max the seller can contribute is 3%. So I have this max contribution in here, and if you look down here, there's a seller contribution of $6,000, which is the max allowed on this program for this down payment. And then you have your down payment. So then you have your sales price down here. So we took $190, we added the seller's closing costs, the buyer's closing costs, the down payment, and then that equals a sales price of around $210. Now, when you start a transaction like this, it's hard to nail right down to the penny when you're going in the front door what the exact final sales price will be. You can get an approximation. And as you move through the loan process and you get closer and you know the exact numbers for things like insurance and taxes, you can nail it down closer to the number. So the buyer doesn't have to come out of pocket, and the seller really won't have to come out of pocket either. The down payment is a gift of equity. The rest of this, you're beefing up the sales price to $210, assuming it will appraise. Your mom and dad, we're assuming they're giving them a good deal, and it will appraise at $210, no problem. So the loan amount will be based on a sales price of $210. So you've got a gift of equity of $10,000, and the rest of it is real money coming in the form of the loan, the purchase loan. So under this scenario, the buyers in this scenario are still coming with $1,200 just because we have a limit or a cap on the seller concessions. If it was FHA, they would be $0. But that's kind of how this works. So it's not an exact science, but that's the idea of it. You back into your sales price, and then mom and dad are happy. They get their $190 and they get to walk away and knowing that they did something nice for the kids. And the kids are happy because they're getting a good deal on a house, and they're really not having to come out of pocket with much of money at all. So that's how these transactions work. And if you have something like this that's come up and you have questions, just reach out and contact our office. We're happy to help you. Okay? Take care. Thanks. Bye.